Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you so much for joining me, and I apologize for my absence here on YouTube. I have been extremely busy teaching classes and with my membership, and it's just been busy. So I apologize. Plus, let's face it, there's been a lot of news, but not really the kind of news we're waiting for, right? We haven't had any arrest yet, but they are coming. So today I want to just check in with you and tell you a few things. Look, first of all, these things that our government keeps shooting down, which I think we might be up to 4 now, are not UFOs. Repeat after me, they're not UFOs. I believe in UFOs. I've seen them. I'm an experiencer. I would be the first to get on here and tell you, take cover, there's UFOs. I would be the first to tell you, right? I really would. Here's the thing, you guys. Well, when China floated the balloon that was as big as a double-decker tour bus over the United States, well, it showed up on our radar. You could see it with your naked eye. People in the up there in the middle of nowhere were like, look at that, okay. Pretty hard to miss. Okay, pretty hard to miss. So that is when Biden said, oh, I need to call a huddle with my intel community and see exactly what is going on. Biden literally, he called a meeting and he was briefed and he found out that, well, yes, it showed up. And yes, these things are pretty common and pretty prevalent. Remember the report where we learned that this happened 3 times under Trump's administration? Remember that no one knew, that it was not disclosed, but our intel community knew about it. So here they are telling Biden this information, and Biden is like, well, wait a minute, you mean this stuff happens all the time? And they're like, yeah, I mean, we send stuff to their country, they send stuff to our country. It's pretty common, and here's where Biden says, no, not on my watch. No. Like, what is wrong with you people? This isn't that whole quid pro quo. Trump's quid pro quo. Basically, I give you a little, you give me a little. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. This isn't how that works. We write a trade deal. It's in public. Everybody signs off on it. The American people know about it. That's how we do quid pro quo. It's not wink, wink in the back room, maybe even handing over some top secret documents in the meantime. That's not how we roll here. So Biden is the one who led this and said to the intel community, no, I want to know everything. I want to know everything that comes into our airspace. And of course, he got on the phone with Trudeau, with NORAD, with Canada, and agreed and had the same conversation. So what has happened is, when they do these radar scannings, they need to make it not so detailed, because otherwise flocks of geese can show up as an object, right? They set the sensitivity. The guides are saying they set the sensitivity level to double-decker tour bus size, and whoops, there it is. So now what they've done is they've reduced the sensitivity to be more sensitive, or maybe increase the sensitivity to be more sensitive. Once they did that, it's a little bit harder work, right? Somebody has to get in there and discern, what is this? Is this what we think it is, or is it that? So it takes a couple of extra steps. So it takes a little extra brain power. No problem. Biden is like, that's why we have intel. That's why we have these amazing people. So this is why all of a sudden you're seeing these things be shot down, because he's sending a message. You, China, and whoever else is involved, and we know it's more than China, you guys might be a trade partner, or you might be a foe. But we don't care. We don't care if you're a trading partner. If you come into our airspace and you don't ask for permission and let us know that you're here, we're going to shoot you down. There's a new sheriff in town. How many times have the spirit guides said those exact words? There's a new sheriff in town. He means business. He's not playing. This should be evidence that he's not playing, right? So I think you're going to find that there might be one or two more, maybe one or two more. And I say this because I feel like these countries are testing us. Right. So this is a part of a bigger thing that I need to talk about. And to be honest with you, this is why I'm doing this video. There's this energy of testing the United States, right? Now, the spirit guides have talked about this a long time because we're seen as a superpower. Now, what that means is we're a target. That's what that means. There are a lot of countries, and I mean probably at least 5 that I can think of off the top of my head, that think that we're too big for our britches, that they would like to see us fall down and stumble, that they would like to see democracy have egg on its face. They would like some propaganda, stories, video to take back to their impoverished people and show them, oh, you want democracy? You want freedom? This is what it looks like. You want to be a mockery? These people are a mockery. They can't keep themselves safe. I can keep you safe. I can keep you safe. So you see what's happening here. Anytime they have an opportunity to kick our legs out from under us and make us look bad, they're going to do that. It's not an act of war exactly. It's just sabotage. It's just out and out sabotage, which brings me to the next situation that is sabotage. Now, look, I think I have a reputation on YouTube as being a straight shooter. I don't really fall typically. Sometimes I do. I try not to. The guides keep me on pretty much on the straight and narrow. I try not to fall for inaccuracies or this propaganda that I'm talking about. Whereas you have these unidentified objects that the Pentagon comes out and says, well, we don't know what it is. We can't rule anything out. Now, the Pentagon is not thinking that the UFO community is going to literally take that to the bank and cash that check to say the Pentagon doesn't know what it is, then it's got to be a UAP or it's got to be a UFO. They didn't think that through. And now you see the White House spokeswoman saying it is not little green men. It is not aliens. Okay. So she had to repeat that. I don't know how many times in the press conference, the press conference yesterday. Now, I preface that by saying the next thing I'm going to say could, to some of you guys, and that's fine, seem like I'm being a conspiracy theorist. But I would submit to you, and here's that attorney. I swear I have a jurist. Is a jurist a judge? Is a jurist a judge? I don't know. I have a jurist. That's what they're calling themselves. And they keep saying, I submit for you, or they say, Exhibit A. This, I find myself saying it without being able to stop. So I submit to you that patterns are real. If you have a pattern in your life, if you've married 3 of the wrong person, honey, that's a pattern. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. Okay. If you always have bad bosses, that's a pattern, because something I learned between you and me is people that are really well balanced or haven't had a really crappy terrorized childhood like me or you don't put up with bad bosses. They're like, peace out. They don't put up with bad relationships. Peace out. You know, they pay attention to those things that you and I call red flags. One of the last relationships I was in, I saw all those red flags. And I remember telling my spirit guides when they asked me, Susan, didn't you see those red flags? And I said, yeah, I thought it was a circus. I thought it was a circus. I thought it'd be fun. Don't do like me. Okay. Listen, patterns are for real, you guys. So here we are. Well, let's see. We've got a pattern of school shootings. We've got a pattern of people using high automatic guns. I'm trying to choose my words because YouTube is getting finicky again about things. They use these GUNSs to kill people. And I don't know the outcome of it, but yesterday, Michigan, University of Michigan was experiencing the same thing. And my prayers go out to you. That's a pattern. That is a pattern. We're not dealing with it. Patterns exist because you don't deal with them. That's the beginning and end of it in your personal life, in your country, in your community, whatever. So here's another pattern. And I also want to say a mea culpa. Again, that's the legal thing. I want to say a mea culpa because I saw this. The guides showed it to me. And I just didn't put two and two together, or I'm a little sensitive to being a conspiracy theorist. I'm a little sensitive to saying things like this. But now that it's happened, I'm like, okay, yeah, I see, I missed that. I missed that information. What is the information? Well, they showed me. Now, what do I mean? What I mean in this particular situation is I saw a video on YouTube or Twitter or something. I saw this derailment of trains in Russia. And they derailed the train. I'm not even going to say how they did it because I thought it was brilliant in a bad way. It's so easy to derail a train, turns out. Now, it's obvious what's been done, but it's very easy to do. This train was in the middle of nowhere, Russia. Now, how, somebody going to get there? Yeah, they got there and they derailed that train, and it was clear in the video how they did it. And I'm not going to say it because I just don't want to spread that information. I saw that. And what I'm going to tell you is when your spirit guides are talking to you, a couple of things that happen is you can't stop thinking about it. When you get guidance, it like stays on loop in your brain. And in this case, why would that stay on loop in my brain? Why do I care? Seriously, why do I care if a train derailed in Russia? I don't care. I really don't. But it stayed on loop in my brain for weeks. Every once in a while, pop up. Number two, at that time, I thought, that's going to happen. Train derailments are going to start happening. I really did have that thought. Now, I didn't take it any further because sometimes as a human, now, if you're new here, I'm channeling this information. 60% is them, 40% is me. And I want to just say right now, I'm going to claim that 40% and talk about as Susan is as a human, I'm very empathic. I can't handle this bad news 24/7. I am an empath. If I wasn't an empath, I could talk about it with some distance, but I can't. I feel it instead. So when I saw that sabotage, there's the word again they're using, of that train in Russia, I thought that's going to happen in the United States. That is going to happen in the United States. Now, I pushed it out of my head because I didn't want to know, number one. Number two, what good is it going to do for me to tell you guys? It's not like it's going to do any good. And I promise you, for those people who write me and tell me that I need to call the CIA or the FBI or my local police department, to be honest with you, I don't really want to be on their radar as a crazy nut job. So, it wouldn't have done anything, but I will say mea culpa. I did get that information and I just didn't want it to be true. To be honest with you, I didn't want it to be true. So here we are. We have train derailments. I'm going to submit, there's that word again, I'm going to submit to you that this is not a coincidence. I would also like to tell you that there aren't any coincidences. If it's a pattern, it's real. It's happening for a reason. Either your spirit guides are trying to tell you something, or you yourself are making the same decision over and over again and not learning from your mistakes. Now, in full, support of you and me too. They give us the lesson and it looks different. It's not like a lot of times it's the same little package with the same little red bow. Sometimes the package looks completely different and you think, oh, this is completely different. Woohoo. All right. And then you get into it and you realize it's the same thing, same lesson in a new wrapping paper, right? It's so frustrating. So you really have to pay attention to those red flags. So in this case, these train derailments, these spy balloons, even some other things that have been kind of eyebrow raising, you might call them, but the guides would call them suspicious, like poultry farm fires, different things like that. Any kind of anything to do with infrastructure. Anything to do with infrastructure. Here's the thing. We just passed this bill. I say we, like I was there, but the American people, you know, I voted for them Dems and they did the work. So I'm going to claim a tiny bit of credit here, but the Dems just passed this infrastructure bill. Things are about to get incredibly better for Americans. And number one. Number two, Pete Buttigieg is very popular. He's very popular and they need to knock him out. They have been blaming him for the Southwest debacle. Remember Southwest over Christmas? They're blaming him for the train derailment. They're going to blame him for everything because they need to sully his name. They need to take his popularity down. And I got to be honest with you, it's working. I'm sorry to say this, but I see it working among Democrats. Democrats are like, he should have done something. What in the heck is Pete going to do? He's Secretary of Transportation. What is he going to do now? Right? Maybe Biden could be a little bit better on messaging. Maybe they could be a little bit more forceful on messaging, because in this world we live in right now, whoever owns the narrative at the beginning owns the story, owns all of it. And we all know that the Republicans do nothing but spew narrative. That is what they do. They don't have a platform except for, you know, things that Americans don't want, like kids having guns and, you know, women not having a choice and killing Social Security. But other than that, they don't really have a platform to help Americans. So instead, they're always on the attack. And if Biden and Pete would get out there a little bit more quickly and own that narrative and say something right off the bat, this thing would go a lot better. But Biden is not used to that. You know, presidents don't do that, right? This is all new territory. They don't understand how this game works just yet. They're getting there. I mean, he certainly knocked it out of the park in the State of the Union address, right? He's getting there, but he needs to really be more responsive to these things, because what is happening is, are these things really accidents? We had a train derailment in Houston. Now, or, you know, 50 miles outside of Houston. Some report, somebody said it's 50 miles outside of Houston. Honey, Houston is so big. It's just call it Houston and stop being a jerk. 50 miles outside of Houston doesn't really matter. If you live in Des Moines, it's close enough, right? So we have a derailment in Houston where a truck supposedly got stopped on the tracks and the train hit it. I don't know if anybody was in the truck. I don't know anything about that. But what you have is now the narrative, guys, the narrative. Yes, what happened in Ohio is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Beyond terrible. It should never have happened. And yes, Obama passed or got a law passed that said trains should have higher braking standards if they're near a community and they're carrying toxic chemicals. But he also, as part of that bill, it was said that if this is not cost effective, it can be repealed, and Trump repealed it. And there's some question anyway as to whether that particular law would have applied to that particular train. So yes, there's things that need to be done. We need to fix this. But I'm going to tell you to be careful, because these Republicans and these disinformation agents, who I really want you to be careful of, is these disinformation agents who look like Joe Blow from San Francisco, who's a Democrat, but they're not. They're really Olga from Russia. And what are they doing? They're telling you that the Ohio River is polluted. They're going to tell you the Ohio River's on fire. They're going to tell you the groundwater is polluted. They're going to tell you all these things that if you just do a little research before you believe it, we'll find out that that is not the case at this time. And what happens is, and I've already seen this, Democrats pick that ball up and start rolling with it, because it plays into their own ideas about toxic chemicals. I really dislike chemicals. I don't really use them. But we cannot just knee jerk jump on this and say that Pete's wrong or Biden's wrong or whatever. We need to do the research and really find out what the real truth is, because these people are dividing us. Their game is to divide us. Their game is to make us think Biden isn't doing a good job. Merrick Garland isn't doing a good job. Mueller didn't do a good job. Smith isn't doing a good job. Fani Willis is not good. Nobody's doing anything. And it has consequences. Let me give you a little memory to show you that. Remember when Hillary Clinton was running? Okay, so we had the Bernie people and we had Hillary. That you couldn't get two different candidates. I will agree. I know a lot of people who did not vote for Hillary because they believed the Pizzagate story. Because why did they believe that? Because they didn't like Hillary to begin with. They just didn't like her. So when some dirt was given to them, they said, okay, fine, I'm not voting for her. I'm sitting this one out. I cannot vote for her. Look what we got, Trump. It worked. We know now this information has been disclosed. We know without a shadow of a doubt that there was Russian disinformation campaign targeted Hillary. Remember the emails just before the election? They targeted Hillary, and Hillary lost because of that disinformation campaign. Do not let them do this to us again. Don't let them do it to us again, folks. Yes, this spill is terrible. And you want to know what? I have every faith that Biden is going to do everything he can to give the EPA and whatever agency he can the full power that they can have to go after these companies. Whatever he can do within his executive branch abilities, he's going to do it. And then whatever he can do with the Congress and our Senate, he's going to do that too. And the first thing I saw after that derailment was I saw however the train car looks now, whatever the mechanism is for holding that toxic chemical, whether it's a gas or whatever it is. I saw, and we have this technology. The guides are saying we have this technology. I saw a bladder, call it a bladder, but it doesn't break open. It's squishy and it doesn't tear. What does that mean? That means if that train car gets derailed, that chemical or that, whatever it is, a gas or inert, whatever it is going to be safe in that bladder. And they're going to be able to take the outer casing of the car away, pick the bladder up, put it in another container. We have this technology. Now, why aren't we using it? Because it costs money. Because nobody's making them use it. Because Trump reduced all the regulations. Which leads me to the next thing. Since Trump reduced all the regulations on people, on companies and corporations that control our infrastructure, it plays into, it gives everybody a narrative that makes sense. So the thing is, you don't want to be caught sabotaging the infrastructure, right? You don't want to be caught doing that. You want it to be a failure of the system, a failure of the president, a failure of the secretary. Even though perhaps weakening those regulations certainly made these accidents ripe and the potential grow, then it doesn't take much for a saboteur to cause that weak point to fail. Do you understand how this is happening? Can you see the dots the way I see the dots? I don't know. I don't know if you can. Just like these yahoos are shooting at electrical substations. That's infrastructure. That's attacks on our infrastructure. And we're going to see more of this. And I'm sorry, this is where, just turn this off. If you don't want to hear bad news, just turn it off right now. You have been warned. I do see more derailings. And when I was going to say Russia, I heard Georgia. So we may potentially see a derailing in Georgia. Now, why is this also happening? Is because the heat is on Trump. The heat is on these Republicans, and they need distractions. So we need lots and lots of balloons that are UFOs, that are spies. We're under attack. We need lots of derailments. We need fires. We need problems. We need to make sure that this country looks like it's going to hell in a handbasket. Because if we can get the news reporting one bad thing after another, then who's going to look bad? Biden. Biden's going to look bad. Not Trump. So the more the heat gets turned up on these people, the more coincidental, accidental, whatever, but not really coincidental, problems are going to happen. I also see problems. Well, we already saw problems, right? Was it Jackson, Mississippi? Of course, we have Flint for decades with poisonous water. You guys, I've been saying it. The guides have been saying it. Other psychics have been saying it. I see problems with water. I see problems getting water. I see problems with water being clean to drink. Now, that's not necessarily, now, of course, something could happen this year, but I mean, that would be piecemeal, right? So there's a fire in a poultry processing plant. There's something else in a pork plant. And then there's something else in a water plant. And then there's something else, 3 new train derailments. And then there's 5, new shootings. This is all theater. It's real, but it's narrative. It's theater. And if you want to ask me how a Republican is responsible for a shooting, I'm almost speechless to have to answer that. In Texas, you can carry a gun anywhere, mostly. I mean, sometimes if you have private business, you can say no, but you don't have to have a license anymore. Even everybody was against that law, and they still passed it. In Missouri, they're trying to ban a law that would allow kids to carry guns. Ban a law that would allow kids to carry guns. So, and basically in a reverse sort of way, they're saying kids should be able to carry guns. If you guys don't think that they're setting us up for failure, you're wrong. This is not happening. This is not a coincidence. None of this is a coincidence. But I will tell you that it doesn't really matter, because I've seen how this movie ends, and the good people, the people with hearts and souls filled with light, prevail. We prevail. But I will tell you, it's sometimes it reminds me of Ukraine. Ukraine is going to prevail. Those people are going to win. They're going to have their country back. But at what price? At what cost? At what cost, people? So here we are. These things are not happening in a void by themselves. They're all connected. It's all connected. And the thing that's really going to save us the thing that's really going to save us, to be honest with you, are or is justice and is arrest. We're going to arrest these people. They will be arrested. They will be removed. That's the flipping of the table that the spirit guides keep talking about. But two things. It's in one way they describe it as we have to get to the cliff's edge, which I'm not a roller coaster person. I'm not really a cliff edge kind of girl. So I prefer we do this differently, but you know, Americans are still busy, they're still distracted, they're still fighting each other a lot of times because of the disinformation. So don't fall for it. Do not fall for it. While we're fighting each other, we're not taking care of the house. We're not taking care of our country. Okay? Luckily for us, the energy is the energy, and it doesn't really matter what we do. It has been written. It is going to happen. They are going to arrest these people. They're going to arrest enough people that are going to be high level and close to high level, like, and this is for entertainment purposes only, and this is allegedly, but they could be arresting people or charging or indicting people that could be very close to Trump, like his attorneys, like John Eastman, Meadows is flipped, Giuliani, Stone, I mean, all these people. Then you throw in, for good measure, some of these Congress people that were involved in the Jan 6 insurrection. And then you have their attention. You have their attention. And it doesn't really matter. And I've said that, I don't know how else to describe it. And I know that you guys are tired of waiting. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of waiting. But we're not in control here. The guides have said this. The horse is out of the barn. It's like the energy is loose. There's nothing anybody can do now. There's nowhere for these people to run. They're not going to get away with this. Some of them, in your opinion, might get away with it because you think that maybe they should have a stronger jail sentence or they should have bigger penalties in some way, which is fine. But they are going to be held to some account. And this is going to start next month in March, and it's going to continue all the way through the summer. All the way through the summer. The way I see it, a big month is March. Something else happens in June. Something else happens in August. And then we wrap it all up in April of next year. I had a really, really interesting client. I'm not going to tell you her first name, but she, and I'm telling you this for you guys to look up yourself. Look up the last solar eclipse that it went east to west. And now the next solar eclipse is going north to south. And that is going to take care of the business. And that's in April. Eclipses are endings, right? Plus, we have Uranus, we have Pluto, we have Saturn. We have some pretty heavy-duty planets that are coming in and will change the energy. You cannot say to Pluto, hold on a second, I'm not ready for your changes. Can you go wait until next year? You can't say that. You can't say that to Uranus. You can't say that to Saturn. These planets are coming in and they're going to make these changes. That's why it doesn't really matter what these people do to get out of this. That's why I say the horse has left the barn. The energy will take account. The energy will hold to account people and energies that are not in alignment. You know? Hopefully this has made some sense to you. I would also say to you, take really, really good care of yourself. We're going to have more. We're not to the cliff's edge yet. We're just not. I wish I could tell you we are, but we're not. I think when the first round of indictments happens, they're going to double down. They're going to have to double down. So you might see even more crazy things happen, not only here, but across the world. This energy is not just affecting the United States, folks. It's affecting the entire world. So as these first sets of indictments come down, you're going to see some real crazy stuff happen. And you're going to be able to see it as what it is, which is a distraction, a coordinated group of distractions. You're going to see this. Then you're going to see the next set of indictments come down. And by that time, that's in the fall. By that time, these people are going to calm down because they're going to realize that it's game over. It's game over. So what I see is by the end of this year, there's a real reckoning. That's that reckoning. I did that video about Pluto being a reckoning. I feel that reckoning energy by the end of it, by August of this year, September of this year. Then I see bipartisanship. I see real bipartisanship happening in the holidays, at the end of the year, and then specifically in the spring of next year. I see a new landscape, one of cooperation, where the Republicans have been chastised, or maybe some of the Democrats have been chastised. But everybody got the memo now. Everybody's got the memo now, and they're at least going to act like they want what's best for America. They're at least going to act like that. And then you're going to see a little bit more of a gentler year next year. This year is going to be rough. It's going to be shock and awe, surprises. It really is. I wish I could tell you otherwise. But these things are meant to wake us up, splashing cold water on our face. How many times have the guides said that? We're in a feverish dream. We're not even aware of what's happening, and we need to break the fever so that we can come to our senses and see what's really real. Those are shocking things. There's a shock to the system. They talked about not killing the patient. They talked about the cure shouldn't kill the patient. Do you see what I'm saying? This is where we're going. Between now, March, something big is happening in June, and then through to the summer. This whole, it's sort of like very episodic. Like there's something big in March, there's something big in June, there's something big in August. So these could be shocks to the system. And then by the end of the year, we flip the table. We're going to get through this. We have to go through some more challenges first, because we need those shocks to wake us up before we go off the cliff. But we're going to get through it. So if you know this in advance, then you can just know. You know what's happening. Now, it's not in Biden's interest to tell you that we're under attack, that our infrastructure is being, sabotaged, because they don't want copycats. Because for every other country disinformation saboteur, there's 5 more Bubbas that will do the same thing just because it's cool. So we don't want those Bubbas to know what's going on. We would rather just chalk it up as an accident. But it's not an accident. It's nothing accidental about it. And I'll tell you that Biden will be sending people to those communities to figure out exactly how it happened and who. I mean, the FBI is going to be real busy. The ATF, the FBI, the Transportation Board, whatever that is, the acronym is for that, they're going to be very busy because Biden's going to authorize overtime. He doesn't play. He's shooting these things down out of the sky. He doesn't even care. He does not care about this stuff. He wants to fix America. He knows he has a limited amount of time to do it. I mean, he's not president forever. and he knows that there's a real, like an urgency to the time. There's the cliff. He can see it. That's the timeline for him. I've got to get this fixed before we go off the cliff. And he will. I don't think he really believes in astrology, honestly, but I think he's at a point where he'll take help where he can get it. But so he's really focused on this, and he's going to give his people all the power they need to investigate these things and to start holding these companies accountable. So you will see him speak out against these companies. There are no sacred cows. The guides have been saying that too. He will speak out against them, but I think it would be better if he would. Well, they're saying he's in a fact-finding mission, right? He doesn't want to be a Marjorie Taylor Greene who just screams at people with no facts. He wants to have the facts. But the problem is, in this day and age, with the way our media is, the Republicans have the narrative with no facts, and people believe them. And then a month later, when Biden shows up with the facts, nobody believes him, because where have you been? Why didn't you address this the very first day? It's a different ball game. He's having a hard time adjusting to the fact that this is a 24/7 news cycle. You have to be available 24/7, and you have to just go ahead and speak to it when it happens, not when you get the facts. Even if it means what we know right now is XYZ, and I'm going to hold those accountable. Even if that's it, there's a new sheriff in town, I'm going to hold that company accountable if I find out that they're accountable, right? Even that would be something that the American people could really feel good about, right? Oh, the guides won't stop talking. Okay, I'm going to end this video right now. Thank you so much for watching. If you've watched to the end, gold stars, gold stars, gold stars, because I don't know right now. I think I'm rambling. Really appreciate you. Take really good care of yourself. And I mean that. I really mean that. We have to take good care of ourselves. We have to. We have to. We're not going to survive this summer if we don't. We're going to be sick. We're going to be tired. We're going to be depressed. We're going to be good for nothing, right? So just tune out the bad stuff, because a lot of it is disinformation anyway. Okay? Take really good care. We'll talk soon right here on this channel. For entertainment purposes only.